welcome to the Papa Dennis Show. And we've got two special guests today. Up on the left-hand top side of the screen, Brad Krantz. And down here at the bottom, we got Britt. How you doing, guys?
We are thrilled to be here with you, Dennis. We are thrilled. We are excited. We are pumped. It's a great day. And you get us started. You just wind us up and we just yak.
All right.
That's what we do.
All right,
We're yackers. We're yackers.
Well, a lot of people already know who you guys are, but maybe there's somebody out there who doesn't. So tell us who Brad and Britt are and what you guys do and how you got started.
You want me to do it, Britt, or you want to do it?
I can show through my perspective how I met Brad. I was like 19 and I'm not 19 anymore. So that's for sure.
And I
met Brad when I was working part-time at Rock 92. And of course, Brad was the morning guy at Rock 92 in Greensboro back in those days. And to me, that was the ultimate station that I ever wanted to be on. I had already been in radio when I was in high school. I was an afternoon disc jockey when I was in high school in Brevard, North Carolina, at a tiny AM station. So when I got to the big city of Greensboro, when I went to UNCG, I was like, this is fantastic. I mean, I literally drove by the Greensboro Coliseum. I'm like, Ric Flair wrestles there like 20 times a year. And they have the ACC tournament there every year. And Brad Krantz was the morning guy. And I started working at Rock 92. And I was extremely intimidated by Brad at first. And then I found out he was just a massive pushover. And we struck up a friendship. And for 31 years, I did what my heroes did. I went on the road to small stations and kind of took crappy jobs and did the road dog thing and worked my way back. And in 2004, I found myself out of work, as people in radio do. And Brad, you can pick up the story from there.
Yeah, I got canned from Rock 92 in 1996. And then I did a couple of years locally in Greensboro at 1400 WKEW, which has all the power of your toaster. Take that back. Your toaster probably has more power than that station, but it was a fun place to learn how to really do talk radio, because I'd been yakking as a morning mouth FM disc jockey, but I was way more political than most morning FM disc jockeys, which got me in trouble constantly, which I stand by everything I ever said. Anyway, that by 1999, as we got to the end of the century, I was able to get a job in Charlotte at the massive, impressive, way overrated WBT, and did 4 years there with another guy, and we had a lot of success. And then that blew up because he turned out to be a psycho car thief. Story is too long to tell here. Just don't even.
I think Brad and I have like maybe the two best firing stories in the history of radio. And there's some really good ones out there. We have two really excellent ones.
So we now get to the 2003, and they started that talk station at 100 101.1.
101, yeah.
101 WZTK, owned by Curtis Media, Don Curtis, who is still the biggest private broadcaster in North Carolina, not a public company. So there's Entercom, and there's iHeartRadio, and there's Cumulus, and then there's Don Curtis in North Carolina. They probably own 90% of all the revenue in the stations together. Anyway, so they put that station on the air, and they asked me, who do you want to have work with you as your partner? And I said Britt, and that's 2003. So here we are 16, 17 years later.
Right.
And we're still hanging out doing the podcast. We worked there for 9 or 10 years. And we went back to WBT, which had fired me, and did a couple years there. And again, the details are just too grubby to go into. But at that point, when we got fired in 2014, as I told the Charlotte Observer, talk radio had officially become such a right-wing sewer that anybody at that time, it was the flip. If you were at all pro-Obama, if you liked anything about Barack Obama, you were on the outs. with much of the audience, as opposed to today. If you don't like Trump, I would assume you've got a real problem, unless you've carved out this liberal talk show thing. What's his name? Tom, the big guy, the guy who has the national show.
Tom Likas, or
no, Likas is again. Likas got marginalized off of radio too,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Likas
Mhm.
got Tom Hartman,
Oh yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
and he's really good at what he does, but there's not a lot of room for that in radio anymore. So game over. And by the way, my comment about the right wing sewer, multiply it by 10 now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
even
yeah.
worse. It's just even worse. So work together, and we do a podcast 3-4 times a week. We have fun with it, and that's what we do. And
Can I tell Dennis the story about how they demoted us at WBT and we actually got a raise? Because it's one of my favorite stories of all time.
Yeah.
You will not believe this. Let me just get it started, then you pick it up from there.
Sure.
Because we just went through the Democratic and Republican conventions, right?
Yeah.
And when we went to WBT, it was in 2012. It was in the summer of 2012. So the Democratic convention was going to be in July or August, a few months after we got there. And they specifically wanted Britt and I, a couple of lefties, to come and diversify the station, because they knew even then that if you have Rush Limbaugh on from noon to 3, and then you have some right-wing local crank from 3 to 6, you're getting pigeonholed to the point where, and even then they were talking about what would happen if Rush died. Well,
Right.
We're going to find that out soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were getting blowback from their advertisers even then, that the station was unlistenable, and advertisers did not want to be associated with right-wing wacko conspiracy theory crap from noon to 6. So they brought us in from 3 to 6, and within a few months, ratings, which had of course went straight down when we got there, turned back up. We were doing just fine, but that core audience of people who scream and yell that if you don't agree with everything that Rush Limbaugh is saying, then you should be hung from a telephone pole down the street, the management caved. All right, so we're 1 year into a 2-year no-cut contract. No cut in radio means if they fire you on day 2 of the 2-year contract, they got to pay you the rest of the way through. All right.
Yep.
So we had that. We did have a really good agent get a really, at that time, I think it was a pretty good contract. The money was good. Everything was good. And we're on from 3 to 6. So we get 1 year into that first year, and there's turbulence because people are bitching, but we're doing well. But that doesn't matter. Ideology can even trump money if there's weak-kneed people running the show. Britt, take it.
So what happens after that first year is they've been trying to find a way to make us go away and die. What you would normally do in that period of time is, we're so toxic for the station, you guys just go home. We'll pay you the money. F you guys, collect your money. Here's your check. That's it. That's not what they did. What they did was, all right, the night guy and you are going to swap. The 6 to 9 person is going to be 3 to 6. You're going to be from 6 to 9, which is marginalizing us and giving us, it's a public black eye, and it's really screwing with us. Instead of just, hey, let's start something with the station. Let's flush this toxicity that is Brad and Britt out of our systems, and let's just go ahead and try. No, can't do that. Have to marginalize and embarrass these people and put them on from 6 to 9. Unfortunately, from 6 to 9,
quit. Don't you think they thought we would walk out the door instead of being degraded. But let me just say again, it was good money, and the money gets spent whether you make it from 3 to 6 or 6 to 9. We didn't get a pay cut. We were just getting the same money.
So as it turns out, we were in line for some bonuses, and it turns out you have a smaller universe of listeners from 6 to 9. So it's actually, in our case, easier to qualify for the bonuses. So we ended up, they ended up paying us, Brad, was it around $15,000 extra that they would not have had to pay us if they would have just sent us home.
Yeah.
It was the first time we bonused and the ratings period comes out. There's an email and it comes to our email box. They go, well, bonuses will be paid the next check. And Brad goes, bonus? Tell me more. And he goes, well, you finished this in this demographic and you're entitled to this. So Brad's like, fantastic. The next time it was like, screw you guys, here's your money. There's nothing. It just shows up in the account. That's essentially what it was. So we got demoted and we got a raise. And I believe the only person in broadcast history that was able to do that was Ann Curry. Although I think Conan O'Brien was fired and got a bunch of cash as well. So that I always enjoy that story.
Yeah. Yeah. And but they had hired us right before the convention because they thought, well, that's a good transition to have the Democratic convention in Charlotte, and WBT will look like it's not just this right-wing anti-democratic state. I mean, it'll just be a good business move. And we were getting crap that summer before the convention. So to screw with the audience, we made a quote special announcement. This is just radio garbage, but it was fun. We said WBT, which is, it's the first radio station in the Carolinas. It's one of the oldest stations in the country, legendary call letters and the rest. We're going to be changing the call letters during the convention to WDNC, Democratic National Committee. It's just temporary. Don't panic.
So we played. I spent like a pretty good amount of money to get jingles with the WGNC, and they were very old school, old radio. And I had several of them, long, short, fast. I had all of them, and we would play them, and we played them a lot. I remember one guy complaining, 8 times they played them in one show, and nobody at that station did anything about it. And people, there were rumors flying around that the DNC was controlling the programming at WBT. We played into it. We said, we've gone to like a retraining camp, and that's where we're going to be until we go on the air. But there were people at that station that truly believed this garbage, and management, instead of it's almost like when people started complaining about Howard Stern, if management would have said, yeah, we got to get this guy off the radio, he's no good, and then that would have ended his career. And we actually sat down with the guy at the station. He goes, no, I ran Howard Stern in Philadelphia, so I know how to stand up to the complaints. No, you don't. You have no idea how to stand up to complaints because you are giving into the mob right now when we're doing just fine.
Yeah. So anyway, we did that last year, not in Charlotte. We did it from the same place we are right now. They didn't even want us in the building. They thought we were so toxic, which we weren't, but we were a living reminder that they were having to pay out X number of, and it was more than 6 figures. Okay. It was a lot of money, but they just couldn't do what you normally do, which if we suck so bad, why do you want us on the air at all, whether it's 6 to 9 or not? And obviously we didn't suck, but it didn't matter. This was just it's the right-wing sewer. It's the right-wing sewer. So
go ahead, Britt. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The last play that I made at that place, and one of the most humiliating things that ever happened to me, was in November of 2013. They had a very famous Monday Night Football game in which the Panthers had beaten the New England Patriots. And there was a very controversial pass interference thing that they did not call at the end. And that was when Steve Smith made the infamous "Ice Up, Son" comment. Some people will remember this, but it's been 7 years ago. So I, out of my own pocket, bought T-shirts to help publicize with Ice Up Son. I had them sent to the station in Charlotte to be mailed out. They refused to mail the T-shirts out. I had to drive from Greensboro down to Charlotte to get my T-shirts. I walked through there like a ghost. No one talked to me. I reclaimed my shirt, and I had to mail them and put them in mailboxes by myself. It was one of the most humiliating experiences. And at that point, I started to move through the grieving process on my radio career.
Guys, talking about right-wing radio, why does right-wing radio work and left-wing radio or progressive radio or whatever you want to call it doesn't really work? Any ideas? What do you think?
Well, my theory is that by definition, if you are left or liberal or open to new ideas, then if you get on the radio and just pontificate, it's so much easier to be racist and right wing and doctrinaire and announce that you're always right. Liberals, and you can see it in this campaign, we're not 100% sure we're right about everything. We know Donald Trump is wrong about everything, but if you scratch Joe Biden or anybody and you say, well, how do you solve this problem or that problem? Well, we'll sit down and we'll figure out a way. Yeah. Donald Trump says, I'm just going to send in the troops and I'm going to fix this in an hour. That's easy.
There's no nuance in right-wing
conservatism is easy. Liberalism is hard. I think it's simplicity versus complexity. It's education versus non-education. The demographics of talk radio are, I don't know, they've moved through the tube all these years, and 10, 15, 20 years ago, everybody kept saying, well, the audience is going to die off. It's going to die off, and then there's going to be nobody left to listen. Well, obviously, that isn't quite true. It's sort of true. And if you listen to whoever is left to advertise on commercial radio, oh my God, the My Pillow guy can't buy every open slot, right? But it's all those kind of products. It's worse. I mean, Limbaugh, I think, has been proven to be the biggest loss leader in the history of radio. When they're paying him, who knows, 40, 50 million, whatever the heck the amount is, and stations don't make it up. I'd be really interested to see what the fee was cut to all these years that radio has been dying the last few years really hard, because they would charge stations like WBT in Charlotte $1.5 million a year just to run his show.
Right.
Yeah, now, do you think that WBT could make up that in advertising during his time period? No, but they had to do it because they didn't want another station to pick up the show and get the ratings that he got. So now that radio is in a full-blown 100% depression, it really is. I can't imagine what's left. If all the mom and pop businesses, which are the lifeblood of local radio, are either closed or their revenues are 20% of what they were, and people don't want to go out for the most part, people have been staying in, who's left to advertise on the radio?
Yeah.
For the life of me, I'm not reveling in it. I'm not happy about it at all, but it's like they've sown their own seeds of destruction here by throwing in with what they've done all these years. So what can I tell you? We're out here just having a good time, right? Dennis?
Yeah, I think, Dennis, I think there's something there. Dennis, I think there's something there about how conservatives just need to have the same kind of stuff repeated to them over and over again. And I think that's part of why right-wing radio works. But I kind of challenge the whole precept. I don't think it works. I think it did. I think it's just been hammered home at so many levels. And the stuff that Brad said is completely correct. The audience has gotten older. The audience has gotten smaller. The advertisers don't get the response they used to, but the people kind of just do it that way because they've always done it that way. And a lot of people in radio just kind of went with, the path of least resistance. And now they don't really have a plan B. I don't know if there is a plan B for when Rush Limbaugh dies. I don't know who takes over that spot.
Yeah,
I don't know if they just play reruns of him ad infinitum after his death and just have a Rush Limbaugh memorial show. I have no idea.
All right, where are we going to go? Where are we going to be here in a few months with the election? Roger Moore is saying
Michael Moore.
I'm sorry. Yeah, right.
Roger Moore's dead.
Bond.
Yeah,
James
that's
Bond.
right.
Yeah.
The Michael Moore is saying that Trump has a real chance of winning the election again. What do you guys think?
I thought for the longest time, I thought it was a 50-50 for the longest time. I don't think it's 50-50. I don't think it's going to be close, but I think people have to be vigilant, and it's going to take a lot of work. I think those rural, mostly white voters that Trump was relying on, that was his base. Also the suburban women who somehow broke for him in 2016. I don't think that's going to happen. I think a lot of the rural voters have seen the real Donald Trump, and they've had the crap kicked out of him by his policies, including now trying to destroy the United States postal system. So I do not think it's going to be a close election. I certainly hope it is not, but people have to work very hard and they have to go out and vote and they have to do all the things. The ground game has to work. And there's a lot of things in the next 60 days that we can't see that could happen. I can't predict. So I think Donald Trump is going to lose. I thought he was going to lose in 2016. The candidate that is the nominee in 2020 does not have the baggage that the candidate of 2016 had. The rampant misogyny that was used against Hillary Clinton is not going to be available. You can kind of use it against Kamala Harris, but I don't think it's going to work to the same extent. So, yeah, I don't think Donald Trump wins re-election.
If so far, they've not been able to get anything really hard to stick against Joe Biden. Now, they swift boat for quote-unquote truth gang that put together the hit job on John Kerry, turning him into a Viet Cong general and George W. Bush into a war hero. Try to figure that one out still all these years later. They're back together again, and they say they're going to spend $30 million going after Joe Biden. What are they going to say? What kind of BS? What kind of things are they going to pull out of the air to convince you that Joe Biden is completely unacceptable? Are they going to tell you that that car accident all those years ago that killed his wife and daughter was not an accident at all? It needs to be investigated. All they have to do is put out a commercial that says that or hints at that. Then someone at the press conference asked Trump about it. He goes, I haven't heard anything about it, but people are saying it probably needs to be looked at. And that's not going to work. It's not going to work this time around. Everybody's seen the act. And even the people, I think if you scratch hard enough on all those people who you've seen interviewed through the years that say they voted for Trump, they knew he was kind of a liar. He doesn't always tell the truth, but, you know, he's a tough guy, blah, 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 blah. That's worn thin. I think it's worn thin on the margins. You saw it in 2018 during the midterm elections. He lost the suburbs big. I can't see how the suburbs of Raleigh and Charlotte and Columbus and Richmond and Detroit are suddenly going to get excited over Donald Trump. Today's headline about looting and violence in the city, by next week, that could be history. We don't even know. Things are changing very, very quickly. And he's shown to be the racist that he is, the bump that he was supposed to have gotten that we all thought over the weekend while we were sweating over the weekend and into Monday that, oh my God, it's working. He's doing it again. It turns out, apparently, that not only did he not get a bump from the convention, but he lost some points. His likability level went down. So the attempt to turn him into a charitable, loving, wonderful husband and great thinker and man who cares about black people more than anybody in the history of the world has ever cared about black people, because look how many there were that said he was great last week. Apparently it did not work and people didn't buy it in the kind of numbers that they thought. I think they thought they were going to just flatten Joe Biden, that they were going to completely turn around what happened in South Carolina in the primary when James Clyburn said, vote for Biden. He's the guy to do it. I thought they thought they could take out Joe Biden last week with the black vote. And obviously it did not work. So at this moment in time, after what Joe Biden did on Monday in that speech that he gave, and I don't care why he gave the speech. I don't care whether it was his idea. I don't care whether he had aides say, you got to step up and start talking about the fact that you are against looting, you are against riots, you are not a part of some left-wing. You're just not that guy. You shouldn't have to say it. Of course not. But Donald Trump's going to lie about you all the way. Remember, Trump was going to try to pin this label on whoever was the nominee, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
And I think we've learned now that Trump was right about one thing. He was right about trying to take out Joe Biden with the Ukraine BS a year ago, because he knew that Joe Biden might be the most difficult candidate to try to trash and take down and destroy his reputation. So he got the Ukrainians to almost, but not really, they never did, hold that press conference to announce an investigation into Joe Biden. They didn't go for it. They did not. But Trump didn't care if there was going to be an investigation. He wanted the appearance of an investigation. He wanted the press conference to dirty up Joe Biden and get everybody back here in the United States to talk about, oh, what are they talking about in Ukraine? And he was right that Biden might have turned out to be his most difficult opponent. We'll know in 2 months. But this day I feel good. Call me tomorrow and, things could look a little bit different. I mean, I don't know, Dennis, did you feel that way over the weekend, that things were a little bit queasy, but now you feel a little bit better? And the way
I'm
he
still
delivered
a
that
little bit
speech,
nervous.
I know, but the way he delivered that speech on Monday in Pittsburgh was fantastic. The wording was as it should be, and I think he flipped the script on Trump. Trump was trying to reposition Joe Biden. He still is trying to reposition him as a tool of the far left. I mean, Trump's brain synapses are so weird. Dennis, do you ever read a transcript of what Trump says when he gives these elongated answers? It's bad enough when you hear it, but when you read the words, they are the ravings of a madman. He cannot handle the English language. He cannot handle syntax or grammar anymore. And he goes in circles like a 109-year-old war veteran telling you about his experiences in the Spanish-American War. And he just told you that an hour ago. That's Trump. And I think it's revealing itself. And Joe Biden, the guy who rides bicycles really, really hard and is very vigorous and has a spring in his step, you got to be kidding. Versus the fat guy on the golf cart, you got to be nuts. Which one of these people is more vigorous? It's Biden.
Yeah.
So everything he's thrown at Joe Biden so far has not worked. And again, I know the debates are coming up about Biden should bring his tax returns with him to the debate. I know you're not allowed to have props on stage, okay? But you could display them in some way. It doesn't have to be on stage. And there isn't going to be an audience, right? I don't think. Which, again, I don't
know, maybe.
I think that's completely to Trump's disadvantage to not have the audience. You saw how desperate he was.
You don't need an audience for a debate,
Right. Of course not. In North Carolina, whenever you see those governor debates over there, David Crabtree is always the moderator. He's pretty good at it too, I have to say. There's never an audience. You don't have cheering hyenas on one side or the other. It's not a reality show, and it's not it shouldn't be an auditorium thing where you stack the audience. Remember when Trump brought 4 or 5 people that had accused Bill Clinton of sexual improprieties, and he stuck him in the audience there? You got to be no, you can't have that. This is This is not a joke. This is for the presidency of the United States. So I hope it's a dry studio. I do.
What is it that's giving you pause, Dennis? What's worrying you about the election?
The support that he still has, and and especially in the battleground states, some of the swing states, some of the latest polls are showing that the Biden advantage is decreasing a little bit, and as you get closer to the election, they keep saying everything's going to tighten up a little bit, but still, I just don't understand the support that he still has with anybody. People who are for Trump, I look at them like an alien. I don't understand how anybody can still be for this guy. I was watching MSNBC one time, and they were interviewing some guy, a Trump supporter, and they asked him, says, what could Trump do to make you not vote for him? Well, if he just started acting like a complete idiot, then yeah, I wouldn't vote for him. And I'm thinking, that's exactly what he's doing now, and they still love the guy. I
Right.
just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hear your concern. I don't dismiss that, but I think the more that they have to spend money to defend states like Texas and Arizona and Georgia, and they're going to pour a lot of money into Florida, they're not going to have money to defend those battleground states like the Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. So that's where I find a lot of my hope anyway.
Well, I think he just made they made a big buy in 5 battleground states, including North Carolina. And I think, Michigan, Pennsylvania, we're in the top 5. And I guess we should look at that as, why do you have to spend money in North Carolina? We thought you had it sewn up. Well, when you look at the numbers for Tom Tillis is just sucking wind.
Yeah.
He's going to end up being Pat McCrory'd, okay?
I hope so.
Look, North Carolina went for Trump by how many points? 3 or 4 points?
Right.
Was that the and so there are lots of people that voted for Trump that voted for Roy Cooper in North Carolina. Think about that.
Right.
They made that rational decision. I think this time around, people who are just bored or disgusted, or they see Tom Tillis for the absolute zero that he is. Apparently, North Carolina always has at least 1 0 senator. We've got 2 0 senators now.
So lucky.
We've got Tillis, and we have Richard Burr, who went into witness protection after it was disclosed that he was a snappy stock trader with insider information, quote unquote, ahead of the coronavirus. And so he's no longer the head of the Intelligence Committee. You have to remember that report that came out last week with Mark Warner, who's the ranking member, the Democrat, that basically said flat out, and this is to Richard Burr's credit while we're beating him up. This is to his credit. I mean, he 100% signed off, and he's the head of the committee that said, you're damn right Trump cavorted with the Russians in 2016. Don't say anything different. So that's to Richard Burr's credit. And Marco Rubio is now the head of the committee, but you don't hear much from him right now because we're too late in the election cycle for him to be doing anything as the head of the Foreign Relations Committee. But right now, North Carolina has Tom Tillis and Richard Burr, who's retiring in 2 years. He's gone. He's done. So we really are a non-factor in the United States Senate at this moment. It's kind of sad, but Tillis is polling way behind Cal Cunningham, who I think, by the way, is a very good candidate. I think he's exactly what you need at this moment. He's a military veteran in North Carolina, and you know what? Priceless.
Well, you don't want to use the term central casting, but that's kind of what it is. And in terms of Joe Biden, Dennis, what I've always said is that Joe Biden is not a great candidate. Joe Biden is a good candidate. And at this point in time in history, we don't want to let good be the enemy of great. There's a fire in your house. You've got a good fire extinguisher. Do you hang on and go, nah, I think I want to wait till I get a great one? No, this good fire extinguisher will be perfectly fine. And that's the analogy that I've made.
Yeah.
You guys voting by mail or going to vote in a polling place this year?
I sent my application for mail-in ballots. My wife and we sent ours in over a month ago. So I would hope that on September 4th, which is just a couple days from now, we'll be part of that first group that gets them in the mail. And I'll turn right around and mail it in, the first or second week of September if I get it that early. There is absolutely no reason to wait. Normally, and I've said this, Britt, you've heard me say it for years, the one legitimate argument against, early voting and mail-in balloting is, well, what happens on the last weekend if they find out that you did something that did happen to Trump, actually. if something were, and you wanted to change your vote, the change your vote argument was the one against early voting and mail-in voting. Well, that's gone by the boards.
Yeah.
That does not count anymore. I'm not weighing this heavily right now as to who I'm voting for, and I'm happy to do it ahead of time. And I think that, and by the way, have you heard there's this new theory out there about what's going to happen on election night. It's something called the red vote conundrum, and Trump is going to jump on this hard, because what very well could happen, because so many more Democrats are enthused about voting by mail than Republicans all over the country, even in swingy states, that on election night it could look like Trump is the winner. But because you're going to have mail-in ballots coming in for a couple more days, and a lot of states have up to a week after the election to get them in, and because sadly Americans we just can't figure out that it's a good idea to send them in early, and people will wait till the last minute for whatever reason. Let's not even go. This isn't like sending in your income taxes where you hang on to your money till the last week. Okay, just send the damn thing in.
Exactly.
Will. And the theory is that Trump is going to try to declare victory on election night when he shouldn't, and the mail-in tsunami afterwards will deliver the election to Joe Biden. Take it for what it's worth. It might be true. It might not be true. There's so many ways it could go. But there isn't going to be a wave for Donald Trump in the mail. That's not going to happen.
I don't see that.
No.
We know that. So, but
well, let's say Joe Biden wins. It's a clear victory. Trump knows he's lost the election. What's he going to do between November 3rd and January 21st?
Dennis, would you like a pardon? Do you know anybody who wants to be pardoned?
Yeah.
I will say this: Ruth Bader Ginsburg better get a
checkbook out.
Okay.
Does he resign and let Pence pardon him? I mean,
I don't know.
I hadn't thought of that. Pull a Dick Nixon, Jerry Ford thing. Wow.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think it'll be a wild couple of months. The worst thing that could happen for the country is to have anything that resembles what happened in 2000. That would be a tremendously awful, ongoing, painful process for this country.
What, to have Brett Kavanaugh decide the election?
Yeah, exactly. To have the kind of drama and the chads and the recounts and the people from the Republican, staffers' offices storming the election offices and trying to, and the lawyers and anything resembling what happened in 2000. It was awful the first time around, and it would be 10 times worse this time around, because I'm afraid there would be a fair amount of violence involved this time.
Yeah. A lot of people are not going to accept the result. And of course, here's the irony. The irony is, and you've heard it, Dennis, you've heard it, Britt, I've heard it a million times. The basis for any objection or disagreement with Donald Trump is you just can't accept that Hillary didn't win the election. You're still bitter that no, we were well over it very, very quickly. It's just that Donald Trump became worse than our worst fears.
That's true.
Thought he might do this or that, and he's done 1,000 things that are worse. We accept the outcome of the 2016 election. We accept it. We accept that the Electoral College is a joke, that it distorts what goes on in this country. It makes everybody's vote in New York and California mean absolutely nothing in a president. We get that. We understand that. We understand that votes in Wyoming are worth 40 times what they are from a New Yorker proportionally when you see what happens with election. We understand that. We don't like it, but we accept it's the law of the land. The people in Trumpville will not accept it. And of course, they project onto us all these years that we can't get over the fact that Hillary lost. Believe me, they will not get over the fact that Trump has lost, if in fact he does. They will not get over it, right? And Trump will be on Twitter every day for the rest of his life, right? He will consider himself to be the permanent critic forever. He'll still hold rallies. He will go around the country and hold rallies. Don't you think? Don't you think he still wants that adulation? He can't get
that's the cancer of the Republican Party. The Republican Party is never going to be able to move on from him. And even if he somehow even if
That's what
he
I was
somehow
going to ask. What? Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, even if he perishes within a couple of years after leaving office, like Lyndon Johnson did, who died very quickly after he left office, it's going to be Ivanka, it's Donald Jr., it's Eric, and they're just going to continue on, and there's not going to be any space. You think Marco Rubio is going to be the next successor? Ted Cruz is going to be the next successor? The Trumps will never let anybody else try to gain any mantle of a foothold in the Republican Party. The Trump cancer has completely enveloped the Republican.
Well, but you have to ask, is this going to be like after Nixon? Because after Nixon, you couldn't find anybody that voted for Nixon for a while.
Yeah.
They completely ran away from him and what he had done to the Republican Party. And remember, in 1976, Jimmy Carter was elected as the "I'm not Nixon, I'm the honest guy, I will not lie to you" guy. So again, you're definitely right, Britt, that Trump's hold over the party is way more complete than Nixon's ever was. But Nixonian approaches to government certainly didn't infect the party. But you're probably right, and I'm probably overthinking this, and I'm giving people who have voted for Trump and pretended that he actually has some legitimate calling to have a permanent movement named after him. They don't believe that, or they won't stick with it. Because Dennis, you probably know lots of people. You may have ended friendships, people in your family you've had conflicts with, who, for them, as every day has ticked on since November of 2016, it becomes more difficult for them to ever admit that they might have made a mistake. And as they dig in harder and harder and harder, and all of us are told, don't make fun of them. Don't do that. That's not going to work. You shouldn't do that. You should give them some space. How are you supposed to give them space? How are you supposed to forgive the unforgivable? You know, when South Africa dropped apartheid and Nelson Mandela became the president of South Africa, he didn't come in and have all the opposition shot. They had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
They did.
And they aired out what was done over all those years. And to this day, South Africa is a very, very difficult, horrible place for so many reasons. But they were willing to tell the truth about what happened there. And I don't know whether we do move on from Trumpism without some kind of Truth and Reconciliation Commission here, which of course we can't agree upon anything. So that probably won't happen. So then you're left with, does Attorney General, whoever it's going to be, Elizabeth Warren, whoever, do they go after people in the previous administration? We've never done that. Although the fact of the matter is, a lot of the people in Watergate were convicted after Nixon left office. It didn't just end. Nixon got pardoned, but 40 other people were convicted of stuff.
That's
and
right.
They weren't all convicted before Nixon left office. So there is that precedent, and it's an important one. It's a big one.
Do you think the Republican Party just tries to forget Trump ever existed?
Oh my God!
If once he's gone, and they just pretend that this never happened.
Britt, I'll amplify the question, and I'll let you be the sucker that gets to answer this. Can you possibly imagine the same sycophants, the suck-ups, the enablers, the collaborators who have signed off on every stupid thing that Donald Trump has done, not saying to themselves, never again, never will I, if I still have a political career? Because a lot of these people are going to get tossed out. They're going to go out with the wave. We hope it's blue in 2020. I certainly hope that someone like Mitch McConnell gets upset in Kentucky. Would that be not the greatest thing ever?
Oh yeah.
To see that bastard go away. What is
Oh,
he?
it'd be amazing.
78, 79 years old. You know what? You've had a pretty good run. You've had a job a lot longer than we've had.
Yeah.
You have no lifetime right to hold that Senate seat. You really don't. Go away. I hope he loses.
Well, yeah, you could very well like hear, in the words of a great American, you could hear a Ted Cruz say something like, "Donald Trump, never heard of him. I don't even know who that is." I mean, in the very near future, that could be exactly what happens over a period of time.
Yeah.
People like the enablers, like the Ted Cruzes of the world, and the Lindsey Grahams.
So that's up to us. It's up to us to give them the space.
Yeah.
To allow them
Exactly
to come back into polite society.
Sorry.
I guess that's what we're going to have to do that if we're going to have a country.
Yeah, but can we whip them a little bit? Can we bang on them a little bit before we let them back in?
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be tough. But you know, there are permanent friendships that were broken by this. We have a friend, I'm not going to name him. We used to have on our show on the radio all the time. He was a pretty good guy, and I've known him for 30 years here. He used to be on TV, and I stopped talking to him 3 years ago. I couldn't do it anymore. I could not do it anymore because he was just off the charts. He was just off the charts, wacko Trump. And I'm sorry that it happened, but I couldn't sit there and listen on the phone to somebody yelling to me about all this stuff, about how great he was and how smart he was and how clever he was. Couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And maybe that's my deficiency. Maybe that's my intolerance. But
you guys want to make a prediction as to who the Republican candidate is in 2024? If well, Trump will be gone anyway, even if he won re-election. Who do you think the Republican candidate's going to be? I'm ready to make a prediction right now.
Okay, go ahead, Dennis. You start us out, Dennis.
It's Nikki Haley.
Well, she's going to try, but I think they're going to try to run Ivanka Trump. They won't let anybody have any oxygen. They're in that room. I'm telling you, Ivanka Trump will make a run for the presidency in 2024. I don't know if she'll be the nominee, but they're going to try very hard to make her be they're going to polish her up as the next great white hope. Why not?
But you know, there's only one Trump, Donald Trump, and I haven't seen a shred of evidence that she has even close to whatever it is that Donald Trump has.
Right.
Of course, the last book I read was Mary Trump's book a few weeks ago. I don't know if you read it, Dennis. But I think they break the mold with Donald Trump. I don't think there's, I mean, Don Jr. is just a blowhard idiot. We know that.
Oh, yes.
And he was the black sheep of the family all the way through the election. And then suddenly he caught fire because he was the one that planned that stupid meeting in Trump Tower with the Russians that got them in so much trouble. He got credit for that. Suddenly that made him smart. Really? I guess it did. So everything I've just said now means I could be wrong, and it could be a Trump, and you'll be right. I hope you're not.
Me too.
You're not, Britt. Please. It's got to stop. This idea that we're some kind of monarchy is just horrible. Although we did see it on that last night of the convention last week, in front of 1,500 stupid people not wearing masks, willing to sublimate their health in order to salute and suck up to Donald Trump at the palace known as the White House, the Trump Palace there. I mean, that's going to go down in history. Can you imagine how many books are going to be written? There's 1 million books out there right now. We've never had as many books about a president while they're in office as we've had about Trump, right? So imagine all the great reporters who have been taking notes and are ready to rock when this all comes to an end. It's going to be just a torrent.
Yeah.
I guess right now the president with the most books about him is Lincoln, right?
Right.
And since Donald Trump fashions himself as the greatest president ever for the blacks since Lincoln, maybe even better, Trump's goal, and he won't be around because they're still writing books about Lincoln, and he's been dead a little bit of time. They'll be probably writing books about Trump for a long time. It depends. I mean, if we can dispatch him from the White House in 2 months, then we've got a shot at a decent recovery for the country. I really think we do, because rationality will start to come in here in dealing with the coronavirus, I mean, what was done last week to the CDC and forcing them to put out false information on purpose. If you're around someone who you know has been exposed to the virus, you don't necessarily have to get a test. That was right from the Oval Office to try to knock down the number of overall tests so that I won't look so bad. I won't look so bad if there's fewer tests, if there's fewer cases. And the fact that they knuckled under that the CDC, longtime gold standard of the world on medical research and vaccine research and disease research, has been turned into just another adjunct of Donald Trump's ego, it's horrible. And that in and of itself is reason number, remember the old H&R Block, reason number 46 to go to H&R Block to get your, it's reason number 8,412 to get rid of Trump. He's corrupted everything. He corrupted the CDC. He's corrupting the FDA. The FDA commissioner, was it yesterday, Hahn, said, well, I'll resign if I'm forced to sign off on a vaccine that doesn't work. Really? Is that some kind of wonderful thing that you would resign? We're all wondering, how come hundreds of people haven't resigned from Trump and from this administration? How come you've sat around, all you people? And I'm tired of that line about, well, I'm staying here, I'm a guardrail.
Oh,
I'm
God.
the one that's protecting the country from bad
Forget
things
that.
he's doing. And if I left, they just replaced me with somebody worse. So I'm going to stay. No, you need high profile resignations by people.
That's right.
And we've barely seen that. I think it's
going to take us a long time to get over, to fix everything that he has he's broken in the past 4 years.
Did I mention we're on the verge of an economic depression?
Yeah.
We're on the verge of hundreds of thousands, millions of people becoming homeless just in time for the cold weather coming up.
All right.
The fact that the payments to people, the unemployment benefit extension does not exist now. The $600 a week is gone. I know that they're trying to blame this on the Congress, and it's true. And Trump is going to try to blame this on Chuck and Nancy. But I thought we had the art of the deal guy in there. I thought we had the guy who could walk into a room and get people to agree on things for the good of the country. That's why I voted for Trump, because he's a businessman. He knows how to get things done. Oh, shut up. He doesn't know how to get anything done. When you see how the Trump organization ran, and Dennis, Britt, Brad, we've all worked at really bad organizations, at bad businesses. And we know what bad business is like. And Trump's bad business. He's untrustworthy. He lies. He fudges the numbers. He pays off people to shut them. There's not one redeeming quality in Donald Trump that I can think of. I really can't. Don't push me. Yeah. I can't think of it. Either you guys got something good to say about it?
No, I think to cap off what you said, as far as the art of the deal guy, he's a terrible negotiator. He's shown it time and time again, whether it's the Chinese or whether it's with Nancy Pelosi eating his lunch or whatever. He's an awful negotiator, and he shows it every single time.
And clearly, the Rubik's cube, the black box of this is going to be, how far in the hole was he to Putin and the Russians? How far down the rabbit hole is he with them? What does Putin have over him that he's never uttered crossword about him? Never a nasty tweet, never a nothing, not one. Russia is they got a lot of nuclear weapons and they got oil. And other than that, they've got the remnants of the KGB and the remnants of the KGB as the president for life. And other
this stuff is going to come out in years to come. It's just it's going to amaze us what's going to come out.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. And you know what? I think there are people that know. There are people that know that are being quiet. Yeah. This also could be one of these cases where nobody's going to talk like that until he's dead. It could be one of those situations where sometimes you don't find out things. But we found out things about Watergate and Nixon, over the years. We still find out new things.
That's
true. Gone through all those tapes yet? they still going
No,
through the White House?
like every few years, they just release a couple more. They got some more transcripts. They release a few more, and if some more breadcrumbs and stuff. Yeah, it goes on forever.
Yeah.
Guys, I got to go. We've been almost an hour here. We could go a lot longer, I know, but I want to thank you both for being here and doing this. It's been a lot of fun. I hope we can do this again some.
Sure.
Between now and the election.
But here's the good thing. The good thing is that I got out of this without having to tell you who the 2024 Republican nominee is. Just to start, we're out of time. I just can't. We're out of time, right? I can't tell you who it's going to be.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much, Brad and Britt. You guys, when you're doing your next show.
We usually drop our episodes Monday through Thursday, and they usually drop around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, they're available on all of the podcast stuff. You're on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, radio.com, TuneIn, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. It's the Brad and Britt cast.
All right. Guys, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Great. I love you, man. I love you.
All right. It's been fun. We'll do this again. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.